Hi, my name is Lexi Laviri. I currently live in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. I have been a physical therapist assistant for 4 years now and am currently working in an outpatient sports medicine clinic. A fun fact about myself, I just got engaged in May of this year, and then a week later, my fiance and I went to Greece for 2 weeks, which was really, really fun. I'm going to describe the difference between a couple of loads. So with compression, I have a makeup sponge. So compression, we have 2 loads that are evenly applied. That goes towards the center. This causes the sponge to shorten and then widen. And this is a normal force because the sponge will be able to return to its normal shape. So next I have tension. So I have a hair tie for this. So with tension, equal and opposite forces are going away from the center. So this causes the hair tie to lengthen and become more narrow. This is also a normal stressor because the hair tie is able to return to its normal shape. If I were to have stretched it further and it breaks and it goes past that, the yield point where then it would tear, then it would become an abnormal stress. Okay, next we have a shear load. So with a shear load, forces are going to be applied again in an opposite direction, but with this stack of paper, one force is going to be applied on the top half, and then the other force is going to be applied on the bottom half. So what happens is this internal, angular deformation. So it went from, going from a rectangular or square to, I believe it's called a parallelogram, where then it ends up kind of crooked like that. Okay, the last load that I'm going to demonstrate is with, it's almost like a foam noodle. So it's torsion. So when it gets twisted, this one has multiple loads. So it would have compression, tension, and shear. Tension and compression occur at a diagonal axis, and then shear occurs in parallel and perpendicular. So next we're going to go over the 3-point and 4-point bending. So with 3-point, it is a single force that's applied in the center of 2 supports. So here I put a Sharpie in the middle of 2 supported, or I guess 1 supported piece of paper with each of my 2 fingers. So it creates this triangular shape for the paper. Oftentimes this is better used for a homogeneous type of substance like plastic because it is a continuous material that you can truly see what the modulus and elasticity is of that object. The 3-point bend is gonna create the max amount of stress in one area versus the 4-point. I did the same demonstration but have 2 Sharpies. So this isn't gonna create as much stress in one area because there's 2 points that are distributing the stress better. So this would be better for a heterogeneous type substance like wood, again, just to test the same, the modulus and the elasticity of that object. This is gonna have less stress on one area. It's gonna be more evenly distributed. So usually this will be a better option, but tends to be a little bit more complex and a little bit more expensive depending on how you're creating the test. So then I made a visual representation just because the paper doesn't always show the best. So here's the 3-point, and it creates this triangular stress shape versus the 4-point. So the 2 loads of stress are going to be evenly added to whatever object is being tested, and then this is the shape that it should make. So because of the shape of the 4-point, this will create a less risk of the ultimate point of failure just because the stress isn't all in one place. Versus the 3-point, because the stress is added to one place, there's a greater chance that this material will break. Versus this is more evenly distributed. The last thing I'm going to demonstrate is fatigue failure. So I have this smaller elastic that would be a good demonstration for it. So fatigue failure is when an object gets repeated stress on it, which creates these micro tears, and then eventually will snap because of the amount of stress that has been added to it over a prolonged period of time. So in this situation, we were discussing an elastic, but in the clinic, we could be looking at a ligament or a tendon that, you know, an athlete has been putting continuous stress over, and whether that's with bad body mechanics or a tight muscle or, you know, weakness in the muscle, and then all of a sudden it will just tear.